Hey there, kids and squids. Welcome back to the Splatoon playthrough. Yes, I'm going to start every part like that. Anyway, the secret scrolls, if you find them, give you world building and generally humorous little things. They don't actually unlock anything, but they're a neat little collectible, and they're just interesting
No, they,
enough.
they, they some. If you get enough of them or the certain right ones, you can unlock stuff in the weapon shop.
Oh wait, those are only the ones in the bosses for the bosses though.
Oh, okay.
And those the
I
boss.
wasn't sure which ones specifically, but
I'm pretty sure it's just the bosses ones, and the bosses ones are easy because they just show up right in
yeah,
front of
they just give you them.
the
Yeah.
Zapfish after you beat the boss. So yeah. Um. Anyway, also, in case you were wondering, the color ink you become is set for each level. Online, it's just straight up random. But there is also a colorblind option, so assholes like colorblind Jeff can play this game without having issues either.
Yeah,
So
fuck you, Jeff.
fuck you, Jeff. Other
Yeah.
colorblind people are okay. We made fun of a colorblind Jeff once, and I felt like calling back to that because we do that occasionally.
I have no idea what you're talking about, so I'm just
Uh,
smiling.
oh, it
Lewis
was
is
like 3 years
Lewis
ago.
is hitting the eject button.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, this is the first area though, so things really aren't gonna get difficult for. Well, actually, to be honest, the game really isn't all that hard, no matter what you're playing.
I only found it got hard at the last world.
Oh yeah,
Oh man, it's a paint bazooka. Suddenly, I'm having flashbacks to Crash 3.
that's actually one of the special weapons you can get in the single player. Different weapons are given different specials depending on, like, it's kind of weird. Like, you've got a normal weapon, a sub weapon, and a special weapon, but you aren't given the option to customize them to whatever you want. If you pick a main weapon, it just has a special and sub, and you're stuck with it, which leads to some kind of interesting choices where it's like, I really like this weapon, but its sub sucks, so I don't know if I want to use that. I think most of the weapon sets end up being pretty balanced because of that, although some weapons are just better than others. I never got used to how the ink brush works. I can't do it.
Now,
So,
there are a few things that I feel that Splatoon does deliberately for the sake of, and I don't mean this simply to repeat what they repeatedly use as a catchphrase, but to stay fresh.
stay fresh.
The multiplayer maps switch every 4 hours, was it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
I wish just all of them were
perks,
random.
perks are randomized when you get them.
Yeah.
Unless you're one of those Japanese players who cheats by hacking your system.
Oh, yeah, but that's cheating.
Wait, you
Um,
can mess
Yeah,
with it?
I played some matches with Roxy and we had Japanese players who like all of their bonuses were just strength upgrades, so one shot would kill you.
I've done some looking up about the upgrades. Strength up doesn't actually give you more strength. It just undoes defense up buffs that you might have. It's weird.
Well, either way, they had it so basically it was all one type of upgrade, which is impossible. So one shot would basically kill you.
It's if not impossible, incredibly fucking improbable. Now you
Yeah.
can re-roll your stats if you use sea snails, which you get from Splatfest, or if you just pay a fuck ton of money to the back alley dude.
Yeah.
Spike is his name, but it's like 30,000 gold if you don't have sea snails. And just to put that in perspective, if you win, that's roughly 30 matches. So
the question I wanted to ask stemming from that was overall, what do you guys feel about randomized perks?
randomized perks or randomized stages? Because I think
Randomized stages I'm okay with because the idea
I just wish that for the stages, all of them were available at all the time.
Well,
Just, it was
I
random.
think they do it to cut down on load times because matchmaking in this game is actually really quick, and we've also got a
Yes.
boss that we're gonna pretty much ignore because it's piss easy.
It's basically a giant thwomp, but with very tiny legs. That's actually really hilarious. It's got these tiny, stubby ass legs just flailing around underneath it. What I was going to say about randomized perks and stuff, I haven't played the game, so I can't say how well it works in the context of Splatoon. But I will say that a lot of people shit on luck elements in games as being counterintuitive to skill. But I personally believe that that an element of skill is being able to adjust to the random element, whatever that random element might be, depending on what game you're talking about.
Items.
I think the biggest issue with it, when it comes to me specifically, is that for shooters you always have a general preference or mindset. whether or not you like to up the strength of your gun, whether or not you like to be quick on your feet, whether or not you like to be a freaking tank. And it's that with Splatoon, while that's possible, it's very unlikely to get the preference that you want specifically.
Well,
so
it's also
you are
not like every single ability is determined by luck, because each piece of equipment that you equip, and this is strictly for multiplayer, because in the single player, your upgrades work completely differently. But in the single player, you get a head, gear piece, you get a shirt, and you get shoes. Each equipment, no matter what, has a set ability that's always on that piece of equipment. So if you get the bike helmet, you always have one ability that's always on it. It's the extra abilities that you get on top of that are randomized. So you can, especially since there are some abilities that you can only get by equipping gear, and that won't ever show up on the random roulette. Like one of my favorite abilities in the game is called Recon, which if you stand on your spawn point, you can see where everybody else on on the other team is, which is super helpful in splat zones. Um, but yeah, so that ability, for example, won't ever show up on the random roulette wheel. It's always kind of more standard buffs like speed up, strength up, defense up. Yeah. When it comes to single player upgrades, you collect your little power eggs, which are the orange orbs, and you use them to unlock upgrades and new sub weapons. Like in this case, I actually recommend getting the burst bombs and the seekers right away, but then don't upgrade them until after you've upgraded everything else to max, because you don't really need their blast radius to be that much bigger.
Yeah, you don't need grenades all that much in single player.
Yeah, I recommend unlocking the other two grenades, but just don't bother upgrading them until you've already upgraded everything.
Yeah, after that I basically just did ink.
Ink and
The ink tank.
the ink tank and the rapid fire. If you get that up to max, that is absolutely disgusting how great the single player shooter is. Like if you're used to playing online, it's basically got the rapid fire of an arrow spray with the range of a standard splatter shot, which is gross. It's absolutely disgusting, and I love
it's
it.
icky. It gets all over the place.
One thing I didn't particularly enjoy about the single player are these hub worlds. They're a bit too big for their own good.
Well, it's kind of weird because you can't just walk to a kettle and go up it. You have to find it, squirt it with ink, and then you can go.
Yeah,
to
but
it.
you can easily miss one.
What I've actually found helps is listen for music, because the closer you are.
Yeah, I figured that out too, but it's just one of those. It's kind of counterintuitive for a shooter to have a hub world explorative type of thing.
Well, because it seems to be the primary point of it is just to make sure you understand the mechanics of how traveling in ink is, even though you should be well aware of that by this point in the game.
Yeah. Ink up walls. Well, actually, you don't want to ink up walls too much in multiplayer, because those aren't actually worth points. It's only the ground that's worth anything. You want to ink walls only when it gives you a strategic advantage.
Counterintuitive is, I'm gonna say it doesn't seem to be much of a negative here, because with
also
your whole swimming
Lewis,
through ink thing, you move really fucking fast in this game.
Yeah, but the other thing about the hub world in particular is I've already played this game before, so while there are a few levels that I forget where they are, I know where most of the stuff is already. And there are a few points where I get lost and I forget where something is. I cut past, but that's not until we get to like the 4th or 5th hub world.
Yeah, but some of the later ones took me a good 10 to 15 minutes to find everything because they were so weirdly designed.
Yeah. Are you guys like me in that you looked for all of the
Yeah, I did. I looked for all of them first, so afterwards I could just jump from level to level.
Yeah.
Every time I know that if there's a collectible that is not completely out of the question to get, I will go out of my way to get it.
Well, this isn't a collectible. This is the levels.
Opening the levels.
Well, no. Well, okay. I should just say right now I have not completed single player Splatoon. I played multiplayer pretty much 98% of my time.
But the Octarians have the grape Zapfish, John.
Yeah, I know. Well, I was gonna ask, what are the benefits of playing single player for multiplayer purposes?
Weapons. You get their weapons.
You unlock the scrolls and you can get extra weapons from the armory guy.
It's mostly.
Are they worth it?
It depends. Well, that just depends on what you go for. Really, when it comes to weapons, there are basically alternate versions, like custom versions of weapons you'll find normally in the shop as you level up. The thing is that they might have a different sub and special that you might enjoy more than the standard. I can't remember off the top of my head which weapons you unlock in single player, but I just think that the single player is just a lot of fun to play, personally. Especially if you do the Amiibo challenges, because the squid Amiibo, which is, you know, the hardest one to find, obviously. This fucking thing has the best Amiibo challenges in the entire game because it's got Kraken mode, where you play the entire game as a Kraken, and you can, like, you press the squid button, and instead of turning into a squid, you turn into the Kraken, which is invincible, has its own ink trail, and you can jump and kill basically everything in one hit. And you have that, and you go through time attack challenges, and it's awesome. And it also unlocks the sound test as a mini game, and you can play like a little mini DDR Guitar Hero kind of rhythm game to all the music, which is great. For the record, I love this game's music. So, yeah.
It's weird that one of my favorite tracks is the theme that plays after you win a match in multiplayer.
After you win.
Yeah.
Because when I hear the losing version, I just feel really depressed. Like, oh.
Yeah. I was like,
why
cancel the pizza.
Well, you know, if the other members of my team would pull their own weight every once in a while.
Yeah.
What? No, I wasn't the 4th ranked player. What would give you that idea? No.
Guys are fucking squid scrubs, all of you.
Well, actually, there was an interview with the developers of the game, and they basically said, we didn't expect so many people to reach level 20 that quick. AKA, go outside, you fucking nerds.
We didn't expect people to actually play the game.
Well, I got
to be fair, the levels really don't mean anything.
Well, they give you access to better stuff in the shop. Is basically just it. Like you can go up.
Yeah, but that doesn't really matter too much, and the game far more relies on skill than what weapon you have.
Yeah, generally. Like
because I'm like level 10, I can still do just fine.
What do you nerds think this is, an RPG?
I've seen plenty of level 20 players absolutely blow at the game, so it just kind of shows how much they've played it and not.
Yeah, because you're gonna reach level 20 inevitably just by playing like Turf War enough times.
Yeah. The only time where you can play and not get any points to level up your rank online is ranked battle. And if you're playing ranked battle, you better know.
You are for serious mode.
Yeah.
Yeah. For serious, it's really weird because ranked battles it plays more like your typical deathmatch and any other kind of shooting game, where Splatoon's primary focus was covering everything in ink as much as you can. And I always thought that was a little weird as a design choice for Splatoon.
It's kind of like the Omega arenas in Smash Brothers. I mean, yeah, Smash Brothers has a strong focus on weird stages and crazy items and shit, but a lot of people don't like that element in their skill games, you know?
Yeah.
It's not just like it's just a death counter. As of this recording, there are only two ranked battle modes available. There are more. One thing I do actually like about Splatoon a lot is that it's doing the Mario Golf kind of thing where they're having new updates all the fucking time, which is great.
Yeah, although I hear people complaining about that, like it's an unfinished game or something.
No, it's not.
It's all free.
I know it's not. You don't need to defend that to me. That's just the thing that people will say whenever they bring up the gradual free DLC updates as a complaint against the game. Like, oh, they should have finished the game to start with. Yuck, yuck, yuck. And then some of those same people will turn around and agree with people on the internet when they say video game developers are putting too much money into their video game budgets.
Well, here's the thing is that a lot of this stuff was actually on the disc, because there are levels in the single player that take place on multiplayer maps that were not available at the start of the game. Basically, what they're doing is unlocking more content as you go for free to keep interest up in the game, because, you know,
yeah,
keep
it fresh.
Yeah, stay fresh. Because I'm more likely to turn Splatoon on. Oh, they're like actually yesterday the Moray Towers map just was available. Like, you know, if a new map's unlocked, you know, the day a map shows up, it's always available in both modes. So, you know, I'm gonna play to check out the new map, and it keeps the interest fresh. And I do think that eventually, I think they're almost out of maps that are confirmed to be on the disc because people have hacked it. And they said that they're going to have updates all through the summer. So I think we're getting to the point where they're actually going to be like straight up DLC maps coming soon. I don't know if they're ever going to do like paid DLC for this game though. Although, you know, this might
probably eventually, but
Yeah.
Eventually, I'll tell you one thing. It helps that the maps are free.
Yes, a lot.
Yeah,
Because if it's
well-
like you can pay $2.99 to get a new map, I think people would be a little bit more pissed off.
Yes, and understandably so. If Splatoon was released the way it was and everything else afterwards was paid DLC, then the bitching would be justified.
Yes.
Well,
You know, and I'd probably be bitching with them.
Yeah, here's my my prediction though. What's probably going to wind up happening is, they're not going to release paid DLC until they have a really big DLC to release, like a big pack with multiple maps, multiple new weapons, and maybe even a small expansion to the single player.
Yeah,
element.
that's
And-
actually probably what I would buy the most. Well, no, I shouldn't say that. But a single player expansion would be good too, because like I know the Amiibo content kind of does that, but the Amiibo content like on its own is a little bit lame because it's basically just the same levels played with a different weapon, which does
Well,
change your
yeah.
strategy, but not too much.
You
Like,
don't want awesomely cool stuff to be locked behind what are essentially paywalls.
Yeah.
You know, if you can get this super special, awesome weapon exclusively only for Amiibos, you're pissing people off doing that.
Well, I
Yeah.
mean, you do get a big Squirrel Girl inkling only through Amiibos.
Yeah, but you know,
although-
it's not like it does anything else.
Although a smaller scale free multiplayer add-ons is not an uncommon thing, even in shooters outside of this. Like, well, I say shooters, but the first game I'm going to bring up is Mass Effect 3's multiplayer, where it basically plays like a third-person shooter multiplayer.
So, yeah,
standard
you say you
pretty
can
much.
shoot things anyway.
Every time they released a new expansion to the multiplayer, though, it would have like several new maps, a couple new races that you could play as, etc., and it would be free. And all you'd have to do is go onto the Xbox Live Marketplace, pick it up, and you're golden. You don't have to pay anything for it. And that kind of stuff is good. I like it. It keeps people coming back and playing.
Yeah. And really, when it comes to the Amiibos, people are really getting them more for the figures than the content these days, because
Yeah,
Yeah.
I did too, because
I'll tell you why people are getting them, because they're so goddamn rare, and you just gotta have it when it's rare, don't you?
well, like I said, like I do legitimately enjoy the
My
design of the
girlfriend
female
was telling
squid.
me that someone got into a fist fight with another dude over a Jigglypuff.
Oh, Jigglypuff! I heard that about Meta Knight, but damn.
Okay.
A
When-
Jigglypuff.
When Pokemon battles go wrong. This puff's Jiggly.
Coming this August.
On the CW.